hello there and welcome to another edition of Temporary Australians. I'm Jonesy.
And I'm Hirsty.
What an action-packed show. You again are going over to America.
Mate, we're going to Sturgis, hundreds of thousands of bikers all over the place, and we went for a ride in the Black Hills, mate.
Ah, the Black Hills of Dakota.
Deadwood, all that sort of stuff.
It's fantastic. Greg, why are we walking backwards?
I don't know, I thought the cameraman didn't want to walk the other way.
He doesn't go backwards.
He doesn't, no.
Also coming up on the show,
in part one of our Sturgis special, we check out American Iron magazine. We have a look at a twisted intruder that was at a custom motorcycle show there. We check out a biker wedding, and we look at the incredible Wall of Death. When you head out from Gillette in Wyoming, you hit the open road heading towards South Dakota, and you see lots and lots of motorbikes. Once you cross the border into the Black Hills, you run into lots of Americans who make the journey every year. But once you get to Sturgis, you'll see something you can't see anywhere in Australia.
America's different. They embrace the motorcycle community all over the place. It's friendly here, it's fun here, attitudes are good.
So our town has 6,700 people in it. Obviously during the motorcycle rally it swells to 400, 500 plus thousand people that come in and visit. So it's certainly unique, and it's just created a situation where people say, I'm going to Sturgis and I'll meet you there. So it's like a reunion every year.
What were your impressions when you saw all the bikes in Main Street in Sturgis for the first time?
All of us walked down, we just stood back and said there wouldn't be this many bikes in Australia, let alone in one spot here.
Main Street is the place to be seen.
And you can get just about anything you need in that Main Street.
Yeah, everything there. T-shirts, hats, helmets, tattoos, just about anything, yeah.
Now tell us the sort of activity that goes on here during the very special Sturgis Bike Week.
Well, there's an amazing lineup of concerts. They had Kid Rock out at the Chip the other night, but they have country stars, rock and roll stars of all kinds. You've got the flat track races, you've got the drag races, you've got the wonderful touring, the Black Hills to die for as far as scenic riding goes. Lots of drinking.
How important is Sturgis to the American motorcycle culture?
Well, I think this is a unique part of the world. It's a beautiful place to ride. And the word got out years ago. They had some racing going on here in the hills, and word of mouth has turned this into a huge rally.
It's amazing how many different types of bikes and clubs and people.
It's a melting pot of motorcycling and very important.
One of the impressions I got just walking around was that this isn't just a Harley venue. There's makes and models of all sorts of bikes here in very significant numbers.
And that's a misconception that a lot of people back home have. I mean, it was started by an Indian dealer, but over the years it became more and more and more Harley, and maybe in the early 80s, 70s and 80s it nearly was just Harley, but then the other manufacturers started coming in. So now, yeah, you can test ride Yamahas and Hondas and, you know.
Yeah, Motor Guzzi we saw.
Yeah. But I think if you did a head count, it'd still be, I don't know, 19 out of 20 bikes would be Harleys.
If you just look around the show, you've got everything from baggers, sportsters, little hardtail customs. You've got a hot rod dyno back here with 14-inch rear shocks on it. Basically, a show like this, it brings about everybody in the motorcycle industry.
It's probably the biggest show I've ever been to because you can go anywhere, any day, and find a little motorcycle show with amazing bikes that you might not even run into on the street.
They reckon Aussies stick out anywhere, and I found one in the Main Street of Sturgis. Brett Cross from American Thunder magazine. Brett, what a year.
Hey, it's been great, yeah, excellent. Bit wet, but having a good time again.
Now the crowd's down a little bit this year after the 75th. Was that expected?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of people were saying that the crowd next year will be down, which it has by about half, I think. This streets here last year, when you were walking around, was just so crowded. There's people everywhere.
I don't know how they're going to cope with 400,000 to 500,000 people only in the region. Gee, how tough is that?
Well, it does take a bit of money out of their economy, and the whole of South Dakota relies on this rally to keep going, especially this town. If you see it in the winter or any other time, there's hardly anybody here.
Well, I'm just thinking I'd take 40,000 to 50,000 down in Australia for Silverwater or any of the bike events in our country.
That'd be great to see you, but I don't think you're ever going to see that in Australia again, you know, or I mean, anything like that, ever, because of our laws and things like that. The police over here are fantastic. You can talk to them, they treat you well, and They don't pull you over because you're riding a Harley.
Well, some of them actually look like they are Harley riders.
Well, they are, yeah.
And some of them are into the lifestyle, they're bushy beards, tattoos, all that sort of stuff.
Well, they're a part of it. It's better to send somebody here that enjoys this and send somebody here that wants to hate everybody and just cause problems.
The behaviour's been exemplary. I can't recall seeing the police have to do anything.
We brought some friends of ours over here who aren't motorcyclists, and they came to Sturgis and their jaws were on the ground as people that come to Sturgis for the first time, but their comments to us were they expected there to be some scuffles and some this and some that, but you know, we very, very, very rarely see any problems.
I noticed with the motorcycle traffic, it's very stop-start because of all the pedestrian crossings that occur and the traffic coming in through red lights and so on, but the riders seem to be very patient for some reason.
I've always found American riders to be extremely patient, but you know, there's a hell of a lot of them can't ride. You see them dragging their feet all the time. Main Street dangle, we call it.
What's your highlight of Sturgis?
Watching the people enjoy themselves, having a look at all the different bikes.
Going out to the drags and the flat track racing and the hill climbs. I mean, that's something that we don't even get to see at home much anymore.
If you were going to sum up Sturgis, how would you do it?
Everybody's friendly here. People will bump into you. People will come up and talk to you. As soon as they hear your Australian accent, they'll go, wow, where are you from? And you go, oh, I'm from Australia. And they're just so friendly. The bikes, the type of bikes, what you can have over here compared to in Australia, you can do things to your bikes. You can modify them. And you see things on the road over here you ain't going to see anywhere else in the world.
It's corny to say biker heaven, but, you know,
it's close as you get there.
Well, it's close as you get in this life.
Tyler, how long's American Iron magazine been going in the US?
We've been in the US since 1989 when we were first founded. We were purchased, our current owner purchased us in 1989, and he had about 3 months to turn us around before the whole magazine went under.
Well, who are you trying to reach with your magazine? Is it just Harley riders or all American motorcycles?
No, we are all American motorcycles. We cover Indian and Victory, and we also are very big into the custom industry as well. Anything aftermarket custom that's based in America, we're all over it.
We get the impression that you have custom bikes where they spend $250,000. Is that very common?
It's more common than you might think, actually. It certainly is not the regular biker, but the $250,000 bikes, they drive the market. You know, when we feature a bike like that, $100,000, $90,000, $250,000 bike, what our readers will do is they'll look at the individual parts on that bike. They'll say, I like those wheels, I'm gonna buy those for my bike. I like that seat, I like those handlebars. So those expensive bikes, those are what we like to feature, but you can see custom bikes all over the place that don't cost that much.
You've recently written a book titled 1001 Harley Facts. It's going to be on sale soon on Amazon, I believe.
Yeah, it's going to be on sale in February. Amazon is probably our easiest outlet for folks in Australia to pick it up. I spent 9 months researching every single thing there is to know about Harley Davidson and came up with what I believe are the best 1001 facts about the motor company, many of which are, I know this is the first time they've ever been printed. I went back into magazines and newspapers dating back into the early teens and actually into the 1800s to find information about the Harley Davidson Motor Company. So a lot of this information is coming out for the very first time.
I can think of a lot of Harley heads in Australia who'll be very interested in that, mate.
Hey, I hope so too.
We're here at Sturgis and you guys have decided to get married. Why pick this venue?
We were going to go on a cruise, but we decided that this would be the best place because that's what we're about and who we are. So Sturgis was the place for us to marry.
Motorcycling is a big part of your life?
It's been since I was just born. Been around it my entire life. My father's had an aftermarket motorcycle shop that I worked in for years. I've worked in parts counters for Harley Davidson dealerships part-time along with my full-time jobs over the years. I've always had Harleys. I've always worked on them myself. I just love it. It's a passion.
And what about Sturgis? Do you think this is the best place for you to get married?
Absolutely. It's the epitome of all bike rallies. We have been to dozens of bike rallies. And of all the ones that you could ever imagine going to, can you think of one that is better and bigger and more memorable than Sturgis?
It's quite impressive you managed to get the mayor to do the ceremony. How did you arrange that?
I got my American Iron magazine, I was reading through the articles, recent copy, talking about Sturgis and the new Harley Davidson Plaza, and saw that they are holding different concerts and events and bike shows and even weddings here. And so I decided to write a little email to the city of Sturgis, and they were nice enough to contact me back and get a conversation going with Harley Davidson corporate, and lo and behold, here we are.
By the authority vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. There you go, Reggie. Time to kiss the bride.
Mark, have you done many biker weddings before?
You know, I've been mayor for 6 rallies now, so I've had plenty of weddings for sure, but never at the Harley Davidson Rally Point, never with this many people. So
no, it's quite historic.
It is historic today, for sure.
So what are the plans afterwards? Are you staying here for the honeymoon?
Oh yes, we're going to be here until Sunday. So this is our honeymoon.
Ron, how long have you been coming to Sturgis?
This is my 4th year coming up here.
It seems to attract a lot of people, but obviously a lot of non-Harley riding people too.
There's a few of us out there. Most of them are Harleys, but we are out there, so bringing back the old, different style bikes.
Tell us about it.
Well, it's a 1400 Suzuki Intruder, and basically I cut the frame, made the neck change, did a 55-degree rake, and then made the whole front end. It's got chain handlebars. I made the custom sissy seat, the sissy bar with the devil girl in the back. It was fun. I was shooting for something different.
With the extended front end, did you have to get it checked by any of the authorities?
No, actually it was pretty easy to register. I just went down and they showed up and they're like, okay, it looks like it's got everything it needs, and they registered it.
Is it common, this sort of front end?
No, it's kind of like an old school 70s style. Everybody that I talk to says, you know, they haven't seen anything like that since the early 70s. So I kind of was digging it, you know. You see those old school choppers and it just kind of makes you feel like you want to be on the open road, you know.
I understand you got another project.
Yeah, so I have another front end that I was looking at. I saw a picture on a website, and so I was trying to match the geometry of it. And so this one's 92 inches between the axles, and so the one that I want to build is 12 feet between the axles, so it'll be another 4 feet longer.
That's it, and you don't have to do anything other than go register the bike.
Well, I might have to check on that one, but this one I didn't have to, so we'll see.
Boys, tell us about the Wall of Death. What is it?
So the Wall of Death is an old vintage sport that originally came from the early 1900s. The first one that me and my brother know about was in 1919 at Coney Island. And it's just an old form of board track racing, downscaled into a show. And so what we're doing is we're just traveling around the world and keeping a piece of history alive that still plays a big part in the motorcycle culture and what we do.
How did you get involved in it?
My father actually was in an entertainment school when he was a kid, and growing up around him riding motorcycles, and it was kind of just a natural reaction, hop on 2 wheels and ride. And my dad, he started doing the steel cage when we were around 7 and 8 years old, and he set one up in the backyard, and it just kind of went from there. We got in there when we were 7 and 8 on BMX bikes, and just took off. On my 9th birthday, got me a motorcycle, and been doing it ever since.
Tell us what you do when you start your bike up.
So after we get our engines running and nice and warm, what we do is we take off for a wild ride that we call the Wall of Death Performance, and we start basically on flat ground, and then we work our ways up to we have a 45-degree angle, and we build up speed, and then we go straight 90 degrees vertical, and then now we're riding on a straight up and down wooden board track wall. So, and everybody's standing up over the top, and they're looking down, and they're watching us do our thing, and we're ripping around circles, and we'll even come up, get super close with the people, where we're inches away from people's fingers and hands and bodies, and you know, everybody's just having a really good time, and we're even taking money out of people's hands and selling them t-shirts while we're doing 30 miles per hour on straight up and down wooden walls.
It's a pretty interesting way to sell t-shirts, but I've got to ask you, what's your reaction when the bikes get right near the top?
I think everybody really enjoys it. Everybody seems to always smile at the end of the show, and we try to greet everybody as they're coming out with shaking their hands and telling them thank you for coming out. And I've had a lot of compliments just today where, you know, people said that if it weren't for what me and my brother do, they wouldn't even be fans of motorcycles and the culture of what we have, and
just vintage bikes alive and trying to bring that new school with old school feel to it.
Okay, it's a beautiful morning in Sturgis and we're off for a ride, so where are you taking us?
Okay, we're going to head out to Keystone, Mount Rushmore, through the Iron Mountain, Pigtails, up through Cathedral, down into Custer. We'll have lunch at Custer. With a bit of luck, we'll see a few bison out near the Sylvan Dam. Then we're going to head out beside Crazy Horse, back through Deadwood and back into Sturgis. So it's a full day's ride.
Sounds great, let's go.
Let's do it.
Where are we now?
We're at Keystone and it's a quaint little village. We stop here, we give the guys half an hour break to wander around. It's a beautiful little village. There's all sorts of things. There's actually a museum on the Mount Rushmore, the building of Mount Rushmore. And we do this so that before we go into Rushmore, you know, they've just got a little more history to go with it.
Mount Rushmore is particularly fascinating.
You can actually go right up to the monuments itself. It's a really iconic thing to do here in the Black Hills.
Now after that we go to Custer, is that right?
We're going to head through Needles, Cathedral, Iron Mountain, the Pigtails.
Well, tell us what they are, first of all.
Oh, the pigtails are a road that just loop over each other.
Yep.
So they look like pigtails. Cathedral is sheer rock faces that you ride through. They actually cut holes in the granite and you ride through, so it's a one-way traffic. They give you vistas of where you ride through and you can see Mount Rushmore through them. It's just a beautiful ride.
The little corkscrews, bridges, they were just fantastic.
I've never seen anything like that before. It was so much fun, it just kept on going.
Yeah, it did, yeah. 15 miles an hour and just went for days, didn't it? Yeah.
It felt like that, yeah.
Then we'll do a loop through Custer State Park. With a bit of luck, we might see some bison.
We even had buffalo pull up and check out the bikes, and it's good to get up close to the buffalo. No, it's fantastic scenery, isn't it, eh?
And then once we get to Custer, we'll have lunch and give them a wander around Custer, which is a lovely little town as well. So we try and give them a bit of everything.
So what happens after Custer?
Custer will then tootle off. We'll come up past Crazy Horse. The ones that want to go into Crazy Horse can. You don't have to, because from the side of the road it is magnificent. And then we follow the 385 up through Hill City, and that's just some magic mountain roads of just beautiful sweepers, beautiful valleys. And we'll come into Deadwood and they can, you know, chill at Deadwood if they want to. There's a lot to do at Deadwood.
Yeah, we actually came through Deadwood coming into Sturgis. It's remarkable, the history of that place.
Oh, isn't it? Calamity Jane, there's a whole heap of history, you know, famous people buried there.
You know the truth about Calamity Jane?
No.
She was really big, really fat, really ugly, had a foul mouth and was an alcoholic. Nothing like Doris Day.
A slight difference, I think.
Yeah, but Deadwood's a neat place. We always tell people, spend a day there.
Fresh from riding in Europe, Troy has just done the Black Hills in South Dakota. What did you think, mate?
Awesome. The scenery, the people on the ride, the way the Americans are on the roads, they're just so polite. Everyone seems to just flow and blend in, and there's no aggro and there's no stress. We saw the buffaloes on the side of the road, everyone just stopped and take photos, and it was just awesome.
You see it in TV and movies, and actually feeling it and smelling it and breathing it was unbelievable.
Is it comparative to anything you saw in Europe when you were riding around?
No, Europe was more just about all the autobahns and going from point to point. Out here, it's just laid back, and everyone's here for the same reasons, to have a good time and enjoy the riding.
Wow, how great were the Black Hills of South Dakota?
Mate, just brilliant.
Man.
Rides everywhere.
Absolutely fantastic. I'd love to go there one day.
Come with us next time.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I will. We'll be back again next week with more Temporary Australians. If you miss us, temporaryaustralians.com.au. Until then, shiny side up.
See ya.